Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Growth Factory. I'm super duper excited to be your host again today. Wow, wow. Have you been following this going series on process design? So we started with operating system and process design. This is so amazing. I did a very long class of about 45 minutes last week, right? So just go to the link above and check that video because if you're not, you're sitting on a long thing, right? So today we're going to continue from where we stopped last week, and I'm going to taking you through a step-by-step guide on how you can design your process, a step-by-step guide on how you can design your process. Now, the whole essence of the conversation we're having this period is for you to be able to run your business in such a way that you can go to sleep while your business is still running. So let's take a quick recap of the things we discussed last week, right? So we talked about the fact that you need as a person to shift your mindset from doing the work to designing the system. When you start the business, we know you have to put in the work. Most times it's just you starting the business, only you. But as time goes by, you realize that for you to scale, especially to become a billion-dollar operating system, it can never revolve around only you. You must learn to leverage people's time, people's money, people's resources, people's brains, right? People's networks. You must learn to create leverage. And creating leverage is not something you want to do by yourself. It's something that you must learn to do by designing the systems, right? And if I remember, we talked about five kinds of systems that you necessarily need to create. We talked about your sales system, your distribution system. We talked about your leadership or management system, right? We let me check here. Says your delivery system very important. Your finance system. I remember that we also talked about your finance system. And one of the critical things I remember saying last week is if things have to run um, with you in it, or if things cannot run except you are there, what you have is not yet a business. What you have is a job, right? A job is what you do by yourself. Somebody pays you to do a job. So if you say you're running a business and you are still the one doing it, then it is not yet a business, it is still a job. And at best, what many people have is hustle. You're hustling, you're just trying to, like we say in this part of the world, you're trying to make ends meet. You're just trying to move, and as you keep moving, things just keep moving away from you. So you need to go and catch up with last week's video to watch the systems we talked about last week and how to design those systems. So today, how do you design your process? Now let's talk about this in today's session. So three basic steps to help you think about how to design your process. This is going to be very easy. And at the end of the day, I will guide you step by step on how you should create your own system. It's going to be very short, I promise you. So the first thing is for you to identify repeatable tasks. Identify repeatable tasks. Identify repeatable tasks, right? So in designing a process, one of the things that you want to pay attention to are those things that you do almost every day, the things you do consistently. Now, I am a firm believer in people following principles. And basically, principles follow routines and rhythms. Everything around you follows a routine and it follows a rhythm, right? So, um, a few years back, I started thinking about this thing called rhythm and patterns. And I realized that every creature, everything we see on earth has rhythms and patterns and routines. So I was paying attention to some birds that, sing, around my house every morning, when I wake up and I hear their sound, right? And there was one day actually, I got so fascinated. I said, whoa, this is going to make very good music. right? So I took my phone from where I was. I could still hear, the sound. So I decided to record the sound those birds were making. It looked like one bird would say something, then the other would echo it or respond to it, and it was rhythmical, right? Then I figured out that by the time I said I won't listen to them again the following day, guess what? These guys were saying the same thing. And then the third day, I saw, whoa, it's about the same thing. And then I said, wow, this is a rhythm. These guys have a rhythm to their lives. When they wake up early in the morning, these birds are always singing a particular melody, right? For me, it's melodic. It's so beautiful to hear, right? If I were a DJ, I'm going to make that thing into a massive hit, trust me, right? But that's a lesson for another day, right? But so you need to identify tasks that are repeatable, things that you do every day, every day. For example, for your office management, every day somebody has to clean the office, right? The question is, how do they clean? What do they clean? Where do they clean? Right? So those are the things that make them repeatable. So if there's something you're looking for as a business person, if there's a message you need the cleaning routine to pass, then you need to document that process and then help people to understand, like whoever your cleaner is or your office managers are, there is something you are looking for that communicates your values, that communicates your vision, that communicates who you are as a business. Very critical. So what do you do every day? For sales department, for example, you respond to messages, you respond to inquiries. How do you respond? Now, can you take a poll to use data, analyze the kind of request that you get on certain days or in certain seasons? Then it helps you to know what people are asking for at a particular season. So if you can find the rhythm in what they are asking for, then it tells you how to respond to them in those seasons, what those seasons mean to them, right? And even the kind of products that would appeal to them those seasons, the kind of services that will appeal to them those seasons. So there's a rhythm, there's a pattern in everything. If you pay attention, responding to messages, prospecting, how many calls do you need to make in a day? What's your sales target like? How many calls do you need to make in a day? Right? How do you make your calls? What's the process? How do you talk to the people? For the people who listen to you, why are they listening to you? What do you tell them that makes them listen to you? If you can find out what you say, how you say it, when you say it, then you can document it. You can document it. So once it is identifiable, then it is repeatable. But if you can't identify it, I'm sorry, it's going to be very tough for you to be even thinking of saying you want to repeat it. If it cannot be identified, it cannot be repeated. That's the point. So you must be able to identify. Then closing sales. How do you close sales? What do you do when you try closing sales? What works for you as a person? If you've been doing the business by yourself, if you're running the business by yourself, by now you should have an idea of the things that you do that bring the sales. Those are the things we are talking about here, right? So then what about your delivery service? How do you deliver your services? How do you deliver? What do you tell them? Right? Who are the people who work with you in ensuring that your goods, your services get to your clients at the time that they need it. When you go to deliver, what is the process like, right? What do you say? What do you tell them, right? If you don't meet the person, if your dispatch rider doesn't meet the person at home, what are you going to do? Right? How do you document those things? Those things are very critical. As you follow what works, then you write it down. Pay attention to what works, you write them down. So What the question here is, you need to identify repeatable tasks. And how do you know repeatable tasks? They are things you do every day in your business. I hope you're getting something tonight, right? Good. Then the second one is your process mapping. Your process mapping. So you want to look at what leads to what. What leads to what, right? So um, to capture it simply, I will call it the trigger action output cycle. The trigger is, what do you do that brings the people into your net? Then the action is, what do they do when they enter into your net? Then the output is, what is the result of their action? What's the result of their action? So let's say, for example, as highlighted here, so you have been prospecting to a lead, then the person encounters your website or you send the link to them, then boom, they they see the website, they like what they see. Then the second thing is that they send you a message to chat with you. Oh, I just read your website. I think I like what you do. Then the next thing is they book a call and say, whoa, maybe you have an offer. We discussed how to make an offer. Was it like 2 3 weeks ago? You need to go to our YouTube channel and see the amazing resources we have for you. I'm telling you, if you have not been following us, if you've not been listening to what we teach here, you're on a long thing. You are missing a great deal. I don't know how best to explain that to you, but what I know is that you are missing. So you need to subscribe and turn on your notification, and then just follow us. Very critical, right? So when you know how to make your sale, your offer sales, let me give you a typical example. So the thing about decision making is that you need to make it easy for people to want to make decisions. And how do you do that? You can make them an offer. You can say free 15 minutes discovery call, for example. 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes is free. And of course, whatever you're going to discuss with them in that 15 minutes must be something you have identified, you have itemized, and you have rehearsed enough such that once they engage you for that 15 minutes, they want to go another hour. Then you let them know the first 15 minutes is free. But once we continue this call, that means you're going to pay. And they say, yes, we're going to pay. Wow, that's a deal. They already experienced you for 15 minutes and they don't want to stop because you have thought through the engagement process for that 15 minutes and you know it's something they would definitely not want to live without. That's very critical. That's very, very, very critical. So look at your triggers. What are you doing to encourage your people to want to take a step? Pay attention. If your trigger is not enticing enough, is not encouraging enough, is not enabling enough, then you are going to be having people who are pulling out, from engaging you. And of course, that's not going to be good for business. So pay attention to your trigger, the action, and the output. What do you want them to do, right? So then that helps you to know what you're supposed to do. Then the next thing is to design your standard operating procedure. So you design your SOP. You design your SOP. Once these three things, the tasks that are repeatable, right? Once you know the process that you bring your people into, the trigger, the action, the output, then the next thing is you want to sit down and design your standard operating procedure. Now, what are you going to do when you want to do this? You can make it a table. You can make it department by department, depending on what works for you, because it's a document that guides you and that ensures for everyone who comes into your space, they know exactly what you are doing. They know exactly what you are doing. Now, someone would say, but DAB, don't you think that this thing can be limiting? It's not limiting, and I'm going to explain. When anyone comes into your organization, they need to understand the basic principles of getting results. So when they come, they can then bring in their own ingenuity, their own creativity in delivery, but not losing sight of the basics. Once people cannot pay attention to the basics, once people cannot pay attention to the foundation, I can guarantee you that they will begin to do all manner of rubbish. And then what you have is something you cannot quantify, something you cannot codify, because everybody is just doing their own thing. It's not going to be based on personal talent and not on a predictable process. But if result is going to be predictable, the process must also be predictable. If result is going to be predictable, the process must also be predictable. How do you operate an air conditioning system, for example? You have to turn it on the wall, then you take your remote, and then you also press the on button. And then the air conditioning system responds. Then in responding, you can then adjust the temperature, whether you want it to be very cold, then the temperature has to be low. If you want it to be a bit hot moderately, then you increase the temperature, right? So that is a predictable system and outcome, right? So with that, you know that except something is wrong with the air conditioner, it will always make the environment cold. That's the purpose, to make when everything is hot, then you turn it on, then it cools the environment. That is a predictable system. So whether it is operated by machines or operated by humans, the outcome should be predictable. Let me say that again. Whether it is operated by machines or operated by humans, the outcome should be predictable. And how do you do that? Is by having all of these things listed out. So you need to pay attention to what you do and what is working. So what is the name of the task? I've used some examples. Cleaning is a task. Write it. Making sales calls is a task. Write it. Closing a deal is a task. Write it. Delivering your service is a task. Write it. So you need to understand the name of the task. Then the objective. What exactly is this task all about? So make it clear, make it plain. Let people understand the purpose of that task in one or two lines, something that people can easily remember, commit to memory. One or two lines, objective. We do this and this, and we do this. Make it simple. Make it simple, right? With that, then it's easy to work with. Just make it simple. Then number three, what are the steps? Remember what we said from the beginning. You need to be able to identify repeatable tasks, right? And then we talked about the process, right? Talking about the trigger, the action, the output. So what are the processes? Number one, you get the number from Yellow Pages. Number two, you call. Number three, you write down their responses. Number four, so what are the things you do? List it down. What do you say when you make a cold call? What do you say? Hello, my name is Ayo. I am calling from the Boardroom International. Right. So you need to write down the things you say step by step by step. Then for someone who is going to be doing that task, what are the required tools they need? They need a phone. The phone must have call credit. You don't want to be making a sales call and you run out of credit. So you need to load your phone with enough call credit. You're making a cold call. You can't making a sales call and you run out of airtime. What are you going to tell? You might not have the person's audience again. Just forget it. So what are the tools required? And what are the expected outcome? What do you expect to have happened at the end of the conversation? What must have happened at the end of the conversation? So this is a summary of how to design your process. Very simple, but not many people do it. I will never forget many years ago, I did this for a department I was leading, and it was a game changer for us because by the time we put, I made all the HODs to write out what they do steps by step, everything they do. Then we compiled all of them, turned it to a standard operating procedure. Oh boy, it was a game changer. Then at that point, everybody knew, okay, this is what we're supposed to do now. This is where we're going now. It just changed everything for all of us, made life easy for everybody. I'm telling you, it just made life easy for everybody. Right? So this may be work to you now, but by the time you're done, you realize that onboarding will become very easy for you. When you bring in new staff, you are not wondering what are they going to be doing. You already have a step-by-step guide on what they are supposed to be doing. It makes life easy for you. Trust me, it makes life easy for everyone. So, what are the expected outcomes? So, we're going to do something right about now. I'm going to give you some time for you to think about it, right? But before we do that, now pay attention to this. Just ponder on this. If someone cannot follow your process without you, it is not a system. This is a summary of everything we have shared in the past couple of minutes. If someone cannot follow your process except you are in the picture, then what you have is not a system. It is a system when it can operate all by itself without supervision, without somebody running around everyone, without a carrot and stick. What makes it a system is that anyone, anywhere can follow it and we get the same result, the same way you would have gotten the result. That's what makes it a system, right? So quickly, let's design your SOP. So I want you to bring out your pen, bring out your paper, right? So just going to be telling you one or two things that you need to do. So just take one of your processes. We can't do everything here, right? I've told you some of the things you do, your task. Maybe you make calls, you respond to messages, um, you you shoot social media videos, you post them, social media engagement. Just pick a task and just write your process for it. Write your process. Remember what we did at on this slide. The name of the task, the objective, the steps, the tools required, and the expected outcome. You can pause this video and take your time and do it, right? Just do it. When you were done, just comment, in the comment section that you were done. That is how to design your SOP. Very simple, but very powerful process. And I hope you have learned something. Next week, I'll be teaching you on automation and delegation. What we're trying to do is to run your business in such a way that it doesn't require you for anything. We're going to do this next week. So watch out for next episode. Is going to drop Monday at about 9 p.m. West African time. Yeah, Monday, 9 p.m. West African time. So watch out for it. Watch this video over and over again. And I trust it's going to be a great time. So please be free to download my free resource seller.com/835053, and there you can also see some other resources that I have for you. Thank you so much for coming, and I will say this, do well to join the Growth Factory, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Boardroom NG. We're building something, 1,000 African billionaires in the next 10 years. It's massive for us, and we know it's going to be achievable. We're going to achieve it, trust me. You want to be in that room, in that community. So join the Growth Factory, bit.ly/100x_growth. When you're ready to 100x your growth, that is the room for you to be in. I want to say a big thank you for joining us on today's episode, and see you in the next. I love you. I believe in you. I am your billionaire coach. I'm Dele Ayobankole. My folks call me DAB. Like, subscribe, share, engage, and see you at the next episode. Bye for now, and keep